Are you ready to stop the self-sabotage and create the life you desire? Well, in order for that to happen, you need to break free from the bad beliefs that are holding your success hostage. You need to optimize the stress by turning it into extra energy for success. And those hurtful habits? Well, we need to give that pain a purpose for progress. Welcome to Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast. What is the number one reason why your holidays will go from what you were hoping was success into absolutely sucking? And it's going to suck in all the drama, crisis, chaos, and confusion, not just from you, but from everybody around you. What's the number one thing? Well, over 69% of people say it's lack. It's lack of time and it's lack of money. And then in descending order, we have family and social pressures. Yeah, you already don't have enough money, and now you're buying gifts for people you don't even like, and you don't have enough time, and yet you're supposed to show up all these parties with that smile plastered on your face that is so fake. And then after that, we have unreasonable expectations. Well, unreasonable for who? I think that you deserve to expect a holiday that actually brings you out at your best. I don't think there's anything unreasonable about that, but the pain from your past will continue to poison the present moment if you don't know how to deal with it. And then after that, there's diets. Who even does that this time of year? Or not enough sleep. And rounding out all of this on the list is sadness, loneliness, and loss. Maybe the Grinch was right. Maybe we must stop Christmas from coming. But how? Well, what if it's not that we stop Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Thanksgiving or any other holiday that I'm not thinking about? What if it's not that we stop that from coming? What if it's the pain and the threat and the overwhelm and the relationship bargaining and the disassociation and getting sick to distract you? What if we stop all of that from infecting you and instead you are affected by the achievement that you want to experience in holidays that help you be your very best? This is the reason why I have this council of wise women and wise men that I've brought together today that are going to assist you. So first, let's start off with Angie. Hey, Angie, say hi. Angie, you're muted. Okay, we're going to go right then into Al. Al, say hi.
Sorry.
Hello. How are you doing?
We have Angie, who then just jumped in there. And then we have Preethi. Preethi, say hi.
Hello.
Everybody that just gave you greetings knows how to get you from the pain of your past into giving that pain a purpose for progress so that you can live in the gift of this moment right now, which is the reason why they call it the present. Okay. So let's get into the tips, tools, and techniques. By the way, everybody that is here is a certified hypnotist, as well as they have additional credentials. So Al, just give us a couple of your credentials.
Well, I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist through you. I'm a licensed professional counselor working in Missouri.
Okay.
That's
Angie.
basically the two things I do.
Angie, give us a couple of your certifications.
I'm certified in emotional freedom techniques, certified in hypnotherapy through you, and certified in the healing codes. Those are my three.
All right. Preethi, give us a couple of your certifications.
Yeah. So I'm a board certified health and wellness coach. I'm a certified life coach, And I am a feminine embodiment coach, and I am a certified hypnotherapist through you.
Okay. Did I invite these people because I train them? Hell yeah. I mean, guys, you're already listening to the podcast. You know the content that I bring you. I am only going to bring you people that knows what the heck they're talking about, but not just because I train them, but because of their wide area of expertise. All right, guys. So let's start right off with lack of time and lack of money. And I want to say this about lack of money, because it's all over the news right now about how things are costing more than what they have in years, if not decades. And that causes financial duress, causes up to a 40-point drop in IQ. And I don't know about anybody else, but I don't have enough IQ points to lose like that. Okay. Because, yeah, that literally takes us into the stupid level. So lack of money and lack of time. What tip, tool, or technique do you have for your audience to be able to deal with that? And I'm going to jump in with mine while y'all are thinking about yours. Because, by the way, podcast listener, these guys had no idea what questions I was going to ask them. And they're using their expertise on the fly for your fulfillment. So this is what I have to say about lack of money. You're doing relationship bargaining with your gift giving. It's one of the 5 motivators, and it's the one that corresponds with the ring finger, because it's all about relationships. And so you will bargain on the behalf of others at the expense of yourself on how to buy someone's goodwill towards you. Well, you know what? Yeah, you do have a point there, is that when you give somebody something, they think they need to reciprocate with something back. So this is the reason why you exchange gifts. But what about this? Instead of bargaining where you pay the price because you're spending money you don't have, what if you were to ask your very powerful mind to come up with a minimum of 5 ways that you can gift them something using your brilliance, what you're the best at, not what you lack, which is finances, if you listen to the media, but actually using what's best about you, coming up with a minimum of 5 ways that you can give more of you, because that's what people really want. If it's healthy, they want the experience of you. So that's what I would say about lack of money. All right. So I'm going to throw it out there. Whoever wants to jump in, how you would address lack of money or lack of time. What's your tip, tool, or technique for them?
I can jump in. I think the first thing that came up was the quantitative and qualitative, right? Because the time can be really used in a qualitative way, where it's, the lack of time, we go against it. Then how do we slow time down even more, which means becoming hyper present, and maybe even the mirror neurons, you slow down, everyone around you slows down. So I think there's some power with the lack of time to really show up in the way that you want time to move. And it's infectious. Everyone else also starts to slow down because you set the pace.
Oh, that is brilliant. Because Einstein proved with his theory of relativity that time is relative.
Right.
And it is based on our emotional states, which, Preethi, this is exactly what you're talking about. How do you want those to fire off? And do you want them to fire off in a lot of different directions, or be present with the flow that you choose it to go?
Right.
Yeah.
And then, affecting others.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a tip, tool, or technique?
I think
share.
it really boils
go ahead.
down to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Al, you're on.
Oh, sorry. You know, if you look back at your own childhood, there may have been gifts and things that you received that maybe were pivotal or a big deal, but I would suspect the majority of your memories are interactions and time with people. So you really, to me, it's one of those things. Our lifestyles, such as they are today, are so fast-paced, we're stretched out so much that if you can purposefully set up time to do something that maybe create a new tradition, a new activity that's going to be repeated every Christmas. I bought a lot of Chinese lanterns that I use with my clients for the sake of kind of reflecting over the year, making some memories, and then letting them off as a means of kind of cementing those memories. And the activities is what seems to carry the day, not so much the stuff.
Yeah. So it's interesting that the latest studies that are coming down on the mind-body connection say that for us to have our mind and our body connected, it's going to be based on something that fills that gap, and it's our relationships. Mm-hmm. And that the more quality relationships that you have, the more your mind and body can be connected in a healthy way. There you go, Al. You got it with those memories. That's what connects us. Angie, what do you got?
Yeah. So I think what we're all saying here, and what I want to add to, is that we're like, time is the great equalizer, right? We all have the same amount. And so it's how are we going to engage our higher self? I think like the part of us that has wisdom and that knows that the most rewarding things in life are the connections and the closeness that we have with the people we love, and not being so busy all the time. And so how can we tap into that sage part, that higher self? And we could do self-hypnosis, that's just, since we're on the NGH call, we could use self-hypnosis to bring ourselves into that state of calmness where we calm our nervous system. And because when we're scattered and we're rushed around and all that, we're not present, we're not connected to anybody, we're not good for anybody at that point. In fact, I think Preethi said our energy is contagious. So what energy are we going to bring to the holidays? Is it going to be more craze or is it going to be more calm? So I think that we're all kind of saying the same thing in a little bit different way.
Yeah, you're right. Connecting with that higher self,
mm-hmm.
Because look at the reason for the season. It is a spiritual reason, no matter what path you may follow. It's about connecting in with the light, connecting in with the brilliance that we all possess. But then the electricity, well, if it's flowing through a cord into a lamp, it has to have a light bulb to contain the light. And it's the light bulb that determines how bright the room is. I mean, you can have a 25 watter or you can have 100 watter. So the light bulb determines the brilliance of the energy that's moving through it, but the light bulb has a boundary. And so family and social pressures can show up because I think we either have been taught not to have boundaries, or we have boundaries, but then we've been taught to allow others to violate them. And we become pressured to do things that we don't agree with. What do you recommend if somebody is being pressured to do something with the family that maybe they don't want to do, or to attend an event that they don't want to go to? What are some of the recommendations that you have around boundaries? And I'm going to throw out my recommendation: talk to an authority figure. If you could do this on your own, you wouldn't be having a problem with the boundary. So there are 4 types of boundaries. One is, hey, you've got it all on your own. You don't need anybody's help. Another one is you need to make a request of someone to partner with you on it. One is you walk away going, there's nothing else I can do. But the 4th one is you need to talk to an authority figure and script out the dialogue that you're going to use, so that when you do get overwhelmed, you've got something to fall back on. So that's what I'm going to recommend. But who else has something that they want to put out there on boundaries? Angie.
Yeah. So I think that how can we come back to ourselves? How can we truly be loyal to ourselves? So we don't have to be stretched thin. We don't have to do the parties and do everything that we don't really want to do. And I think giving ourselves permission in our mind to say, like, I don't, why am I doing this? And if it's because I'm wanting to please somebody else, okay, that's fine if we want to do it, but let's make that a conscious choice. Well, I'm going to go there, but I'm going there and I'm choosing this. I may be tired, but the benefits outweigh because I'm going to have an impact in a relationship. That's the reason that I would do it. And so, but if we're tired and we wouldn't have that energy, that capacity, to go, then it makes sense to be honest with ourselves first. That's a boundary, to be truly honest with ourselves. And then if we've made a commitment to someone, talk to them and say, look, I'm not feeling it, and if they're truly a friend, they will understand. So to summarize that, it's to be loyal to ourselves, to really tune into our own body and our own needs, and to know that it's okay to have them met. Because as women, we're taught that we got to meet everybody else's needs before our own. So I think we need to really shift that.
And let me bring up, women are taught to meet everybody's needs before their own, and men are taught to go out there and make it happen for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be just as exhausting, but on the other side.
Right.
So any other suggestions?
Yeah, I think it's fair to recognize that we all have a parent, adult, and a child inside of us. And what happens often, at least a lot of my clients, and this time of the year it seems to be more pronounced than ever, is that they are compelled to continue to deal with their parents and their older relatives as if they're still the child. And the advantage is you're an adult and you can choose to participate or not participate. And it's totally okay if you don't feel comfortable under the existing circumstances to sit there and establish the parameters with them that you're willing to engage in. And if they're not willing to go along with that, then set up a new behavior, set up a new tradition. And you'd be surprised. The new things may be things that catch on that end up being something that you enjoy and run with for many, many years.
There we go. Yes. And so again, drawing those boundaries and saying, okay, let me make a request of someone else to assist me with this, not necessarily an authority figure, but somebody where I'm going to see them as a peer, not as the child that's getting triggered. By the way, listeners, everything we're talking about is held in your subconscious mind, which is the part of your mind that runs your habits, patterns, programs, and conditioning. So you can say all you want that I want to change this, but you won't be able to stick with it and see it through to fulfillment unless you have subconscious agreement, which is the reason why all of us love hypnosis so much. So any other suggestions on drawing boundaries around these areas?
Yeah, I actually would love to chime in. I so appreciate both perspectives, that we have the 3 parts there. And then there's the literal. I find I support a lot of women and we are sandwiched between the children and the adults. So, and there's a lot to be said for the symbolism of that. It's like the child, the now, and the, older, wiser, older self. I want older elders. And I think really going in with the right expectation of I can't be everything to everyone else, which is releasing some of that programming and conditioning that, Dawn, you speak about. Because, our thoughts, those affect our feelings, and then right away come our actions, right? So then how do we show up bringing, like Angie said, the highest version of ourselves? So the thought is, I can't be everything to everyone. I can't be the child to my parents. I can't be the, parent to my kids. Like, I need to be me, love all the best I can. And then, the feelings won't be like I'm scarce and I'm lack and I feel like I'm exhausted and I'm resentful. And then the actions are you show up in a very different place without all that pressure that you can put on yourself. Yeah.
Yes. So having the container, because a boundary is nothing but a container.
Mm.
There are a couple of us on this call who are drinking our water, our coffee, our tea, and it's in a container. It has to be in a container, or else it leaks all over the desk. And then we're trying to lap it up, and that doesn't work. Okay. So that's what a boundary is. It is simply a container for your energy, just like the light bulb holds the brilliance. Okay. Unreasonable expectations. We are going to be disappointed by people, places, and things that just don't work out. How do we handle those expectations to where they do not ruin the entire event for us? And I'll jump in with mine, that you need to know what you're valuing. And when you get very clear on what it is that you value, do you value structure? Do you value freedom? Or is it small get-togethers? Or is it the big groups? What do you value? Because that's what is going to cause you a challenge, is when you think you're valuing one thing, and then actually you've got a competing value that winds up not getting met. You didn't even know it was there. So, for example, it's really hard to have structure and certainty when you're going to be at the group family event, and that one aunt or uncle, or maybe, I don't know, in a personal case, a brother, is going to get drunk off their ass and open their mouth and be rude to everybody. So it's really hard to value structure when this person is going to do that. So I'm going to have to choose a different value in that group event. So that way I have an expectation that can be met. So it's every conflict is a conflict in values. Are you aligning the value of what you want to experience in that person, place, or thing with something that is reasonable to be fulfilled? Okay, guys, what suggestions do you have for people on their unreasonable expectations that could potentially ruin the holidays?
My wife goes into almost like a situational depression between Thanksgiving and Christmas. She really hates this time of the year. And a lot of that, I think, we've talked about it over the years, is there seems to be such a expectation, a heightened sense of how people behave and what it means and all that. So that's tacked on. But then there's all those activities and things that in the past have happened. What we've tried to do is basically look at the events, deal with them, and understand that if it ends up being a train wreck, this is a bump in the road, that it's not a big deal, that you just go on and you try to forget the negatives and embrace the joy and the happiness that's there. And understand that those family activities may not be the high mark for the holidays. Maybe you're going to have other things that are the case. So you just let it balance out and don't get emotionally invested. We've gone to friends' houses where the families have gotten together, and we just sit back and laugh because of all the dynamics that are there. And I think it would be healthy for us to learn to detach and not get emotionally invested in what's going on.
And if we do get emotionally invested, don't awfulize.
Right.
Yeah. Where, oh, well, if it's going to be like this, all of the events are going to be like this.
Right.
Yeah. Instead, it's a sitcom, at least with my family. Any other suggestions on how to handle unreasonable expectations?
I wanted to invite like the opportunity to just be an observer. Like, what would it be like if you go in and it's just from a place of being an observer? Like, so there's a little detachment and the expectation is lowered. And really, it's an exercise of curiosity instead of, this person's going to do that. And that person is just like, what if I'm just here to observe? So that's one thing that I love to practice. And it actually somehow brings me to a place where I'm able to be there without getting triggered emotionally, because it really allows for me to feel like they're just going to do that thing and I'm just going to observe and I'm not going to engage. So it's a safe place and it gives you that boundary and container again. And then also like letting go of perfectionism. It's going to be a mess and that is okay. And that's a big one that I've had to work on in my life because I'm a recovering perfectionist, but it's so much better to just go in and allow for the messiness to happen and ride the wave of it. Just allow yourself to surf that. Oh, it's getting really ugly. All right. That was the crest of the wave and we're coming down, and just surf it.
I like the meme that says, keep talking. I'm still diagnosing you. So stepping back into a therapeutic mindset, like what you're saying, disassociating and going, it's going to be messy. And let me just observe as if I were a professional.
I agree with everything that you are all saying so far. And maybe one extra thing to approach, I think of expectations, the root of all suffering. You've probably heard that saying. And what if we brought into it, I know we want the detachment and the observing and all of that. That's sort of that sage perspective. And what if we brought in more empathy, which we all know we're all suffering on some level here, right? Everybody on the planet is suffering to some degree, and we all have our own stuff. And so if we approach it with everybody's hurting, and so I know that, and so I can just sit back and get curious, like, well, I wonder why they said that. Like, what would cause them to say that? Like, what's going on in their life that's that's causing them to be hurt, and really approach it with that empathy. And then we can connect instead of being on our high horse, our pedestal of self-righteousness or whatever that is. Instead, just connect at a pain level, because we can certainly all connect there, and invite curiosity and questions, and then create connection as a result.
Yes, because some of the people we want to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And
if we want to, assuming we want to.
Yeah. Some
right?
we don't. So pick out the ones you do want to connect with, because the subconscious mind will not tolerate a void. It is going to want the connection. So you can either connect with the hot mess drama mama, or you can connect with the one that's over on the side who's going, somebody please pay attention to me. Yeah. Okay, next thing, diets. Oh, we're going right down the list. All right, so here's my diet tip. Besides, don't do it. No. So they did this study, and they took some people who were eating fast food every single day. Junk, 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 junk. And then they took some people that were eating nothing but healthy stuff. And they said, what is the one factor that will determine whether the person, their physical body will be fit? And it wasn't what they ate. It was the relationships they had. They actually had a group of people that were eating nothing but fast food, but had very healthy relationships that they were engaging in almost on a daily basis, that were fit, healthy, and strong. And then you had other people that were eating exactly the way they were supposed to, did not have those relationships, and their bodies suffered terribly. It is the people you're going to be surrounded by that you feel have your back. I say there needs to be a group of 12. Out of that 12, you need to have 3 that if you got arrested in the middle of the night, that those 3 would either bond you out or they're in jail with you. So that's what you want to look at as far as having your back. And so when you go into that family function, looking for that person, like we were just talking, that is the one that you can be connected with. And so diets this time of year, don't look at restricting yourself on what it is that you're eating. Don't be stupid either, but instead look for the relationships that are going to light you up. That's what's going to allow your body to process whatever you're putting into it. That's my tip. What do y'all have to say about this?
I gotta pipe in. I love that, Dawn, because this is Angie. Engaging in healthy relationships. That makes a lot of sense, because when we feel like somebody has our back, we have that safety, we have that support. Guess what? Our nervous system's regulated. And then we can absorb the food, absorb the digestion. And it's also the energy that we put to the food. You know, if to me, I believe that, and I have not conquered this. I want to, it's an intention of mine to be able to intuitively eat, you know, and really know what our body needs in that moment, no matter what it is. Like, and it's not about deprivation, but to actually allow ourselves to have that, but to be really present with it. You know, to really be present with the food and absorb it. And if we're in fear around food, we're not going to absorb it. So to me, it's all about absorption, and that is all about our nervous system regulation. So I think that's great. And again, I don't know if we're in a rush, we're not absorbing our food, you know? So yeah, that's great.
I need to take that tip, intuitively eat. I need to intuitively date. Okay. So, all right. What else?
I worked with a client that was 104, and I asked her, how did she get to this point in time in life? And she said, everything in moderation. And I thought that's kind of a great way to look at life, that if you enjoy something, that's fine. Just don't overdo it. And if you're going to take in food, you need to be able to burn some of that off. And the way that I've seen weight loss to work, at least for myself and many of my clients, is kind of going from a net perspective. That if you take in 1,800 calories and you exercise enough to burn some of that off, anything above 1,800 calories at the end of the day is going to be stored in fat. So it becomes a matter of just doing things in moderation and staying active, and allow your body to basically cancel out some of the fun that you're having at the table.
Cancel out the fun. I love that. Okay.
I loved listening to both perspectives, because it was like a split from the masculine of the, the net and the numbers, to the feminine, just the intuitive eating. And so I just really appreciated seeing that like come to life right there. I think it's so true about the relationships. And I love what everything that was shared here, and our body does absorb differently, and it nourishes differently, and then it allows our blood sugar to be stable, which then allows us to continue to feel, held in any environment that feels, unstable or triggering. It's not what you eat, it's what's eating you. That's, underneath often what our habits are around eating. So I have a couple of little tools. I mean, I sometimes have left a voice memo to myself on our phones. We have these wonderful smartphones to remind myself, when I am feeling like I want to go and do something that I know won't serve me, like at 11 p.m., go and have a piece of chocolate cake at a party because the party's never ending. I go and pull myself aside and listen to that little message I left myself, and it really is a way to kind of note to self, which, maybe voice note to self. I also think that I ask my body, and this is somewhat of that embodiment space, which is, body, what do I need right now? To just pull yourself aside and ask, body, what do I need right now? Because it will tell you. It's not going to tell you like, go eat the cake, because, it's going to say like, you need to sleep. You are thirsty. You need to go home. So really having that connection to self is really integral, I think, in this, especially in this time of year where there's so much damage that can be done. Yeah.
Yes. I'll ask my body, what do you want? And it's going, water, please, water. And I'm like, oh, coffee? You need more coffee? Okay.
Right.
Okay. We still have a couple of areas to cover. But before we do that, you're listening to some authorities in their field that are giving you just some foundational steps you can take on your own. But we already know for you to achieve a full level of success, that you need someone there to assist you to bring you out at your best and brightest. So I'm going to ask everybody to give their contact information. So Angie, if one of our listeners wants to reach out to you, how are they going to do that?
They could go to my website, which is harmonyharbor.com. Should I spell that, Dawn? Yeah.
Yeah.
HARMONY Harbor, HARBOR.com. And my email is Angie@harmonyharbor.com. My phone number is 1-314-422-6520. And I really work with grief and trauma, and in particularly the loss of a child. That is, I want to be known for that and helping people to get through that recovery process after losing a child or a very tragic loss, like loss of a spouse, or as that's been my experience.
Okay. Preethi, how can they reach you?
Sure. Can reach me through my website, which is welladorned.life. So www.welladorned.life. And my phone number is 1516-637-3203. And I support women in midlife who are in a state of depletion, in burnout, and just caught up in the grind. And I bring them back to the fullest, brightest version of themselves.
Right. Al.
Yes, you can reach me at My Family Counseling. It's AL@myfcinc.com. I work out of Missouri. I deal primarily with adults from ages, say, like 14 up to 69 or 104. A lot of marriage counseling, a lot of individual counseling. Life is tough. There's a lot going on. And I incorporate hypnosis with about 30% of my client base. So we attack this from many different ways. And I've been told by most of the clients that come in that my sessions are not like traditional counseling. It's a discussion, and by the time you leave, you should kind of have a pretty good idea of where you're heading and how to handle the issues.
Excellent. And I'll give my information at the very end. Okay, sleep. Oh my gosh, this is a time of year where we don't have enough, or what we have isn't high quality. So here's my tip, tool, or technique. Scent, the area in our brain that holds scent is right next to the area that holds memories. And so you've all experienced this. You smell chocolate chip cookies baking and you're like, oh, grandma. I mean, I think of that. My grandma never even baked. Okay. You're tapping into that universal memory. Well, there are certain scents that can bring back how well you slept in the past. You know how well babies sleep, and babies have a certain smell about them that is just so snuggly and cuddly. So have scents that will remind you of times gone by that were maybe a little bit more nostalgic, and use that in your bedroom environment. I actually have a sleep spray that I put on my pillow that invokes some of those things. It was put together for me. And so, see about bringing back memories of times when life was feel good and maybe simpler for you, and fill your bedroom with that. There's a reason why fresh salt air, the ocean, it invokes that. So be looking at bringing back times of when you were able to sleep before, or if you woke up, you could get back to sleep. What other tips do you guys have?
I could jump in. I love rituals. I think they are so important when it comes to winding down at the end of the night. Whether that means showering, whether that means after the warm shower or a bath, putting lotion on. I mean, it really, when you look at babies, the way that we wind them down after a long day, we really do need to start disconnecting, turning off, the lights, in order to allow our mind and our body to just get into that restful space. I also think during the day, movement, we need to move in order to then allow ourselves to, just find that rest at the end of the day. I've seen the correlation, the studies prove it. Getting activity allows for a better night's sleep as well. And those are one of the first things that go out the window, right? Like our routines when it's the holidays. So it's even more important to make sure we're practicing those rituals and moving our bodies.
I want my blankie and my teddy bear.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions?
Yeah. I agree with Preethi on this. I love the scent thing. I do essential oils. So every night my husband puts essential oils on my feet. I put mine on his. So it's like, I'm out like that. But okay. So if you don't have someone that's going to put essential oils on your feet, I will say to my husband, Steve, it's serotonin time. So like probably around 8:30 or something like that, I turn the lights off in the living room, so it's dim, and then make sure to get off electronics as well, because that's so stimulating to the brain. And we even turn off our Wi-Fi at night. That is something, and I don't sleep with my phone next to me. Like there's no electronics in our bedroom. And the Wi-Fi is turned off at night. And then I also have a mask. It's a mask that has these magnets on it that I put over my eyes. So the room is very dark and cool. I like a fan. So those are all things that can really help one to sleep well. And then if we're overstimulated right before going to bed, like if something has been bothering us, I love the emotional freedom technique, the tapping technique, to help calm our nervous system down before we go to bed. And so that we're not carrying all that stuff that's unresolved from the day or from the week or whatever into the bedroom,
Yeah.
I did basically three things. One is I know I remind myself I can't go back and do today. What's done is done. That if it was not a good day, it's over and I can't do anything about it. But and the moments that I do find joy, which are numerous, I cherish those and hold on to those as long as possible.
Yeah. Blankie and teddy bear time again.
and if you put it on a set of scales, most of the time, with very, very few exceptions, your positives are going to outweigh the negatives if you're honest with yourself.
Last one, and this is a big one: sadness, loneliness, and loss. There's something known as the E wave. When we experience a loss, we will go into sadness, and we will go into anger, and then we will go into what is known as situational depression. To get out of that cycle, we need to experience all four levels. But then we need to find something that we are competent at and start engaging in our competency. And the competency, it has been found that when you experience a loss, the competency should be engaging somebody else. So assisting them, because as we assist them, it automatically boomerangs back to us. Not that we're in denial, but we're saying, you know what, I'm hurting right now, and I want to reach out and try to help someone else who's hurting, and I'm going to benefit from that too. And that begins to bring you up on the other side, which is competence to confidence, confidence to outstanding, outstanding, and goes to those euphoric moments, the challenges that we think euphoria or situational depression will last forever. It will not. It is a cycle, but we need to have assistance to help us move out of the stuck areas of the cycle. So that is my suggestion for sadness, loneliness, and loss. What do you all have in this area that is really, really big? So we're not looking for resolution. We're just looking for one thing that can help get them results right now.
I have a book that I recommend. And it's called the Grief Recovery Handbook. And they talk about the completion of a loss. So I'll try to keep it brief, that we need to complete the pain of a loss. And a lot of people don't know about that or understand grieving. And, but it's so important that we do that. And in this Grief Recovery Handbook, there's actually a methodology and approach that it's suggested that we work with somebody on, like, so we have a partner. We can do it alone, but that it's not recommended that we work through some of these exercises with a partner and start to complete the pain of the loss. And then we can truly move forward.
I like that there's an ending and a beginning. Our seasons have endings and beginnings. And this can be a season. It does not have to be a lifetime. You're so right on that. And
one thing I'll just say, as being a mom who lost her daughter 4 years ago, one of the most damaging belief systems that I had after having lost Maddie was that your heart will be permanently broken because of the loss of a child. And the truth is, and this is discussed in the handbook, that is not the case, right? I mean, yes, it's a horrible loss, but that notion that we'll never, ever heal the heart doesn't serve us. So I just want to say that, even if it's the loss of a child, it doesn't serve us to believe that.
And continuing to feel broken that way doesn't serve the memory of the child either.
It doesn't.
That is not the way to honor.
Because we're not forgetting them. We're not forgetting them by moving on and trying to use that pain for progress. Yeah. We're honoring them,
Yes. All right. Other suggestions around sadness, loneliness, and
James
loss.
Dobson basically stated that the average grief for, even if not an immediate family member, is going to be 18 months. So you need to understand that if they're going through something, sometimes you just need validation and understanding that you're not going crazy, that this isn't absurd, this isn't out of line, It is how you're dealing with it. Yeah, there's steps, but not everybody follows those steps, and they're not going to be in the same sequence. And the grief process that they're going through isn't just for death. If you go through a divorce, it's going to be exhibiting the same kind of characteristics. There's a lot of events in life where we grieve experiences.
You're right, Al. In fact, whenever I was going through my own betrayal trauma recovery after being diagnosed as complex post-traumatic stress disorder, I was told that it would take, at least in my case, 6 years for recovery, or if I wanted to fast track it, 18 months. And I said, 18 months. Thank you. Raising my hand. 18 months. Yeah.
I need to go. I'm sorry.
All right, Al. Yes,
Thank
you got
you.
clients.
Bye.
Okay. Other suggestions for sadness, loneliness, and loss?
Yeah, I would love to also share. I think to be with the grief or loneliness or loss, I think there is a tendency to try to override it. And that is, we often are conditioned to do that or programmed to do that to make everyone else feel comfortable. But if we're in a bad place, it is okay. Be there, I think one of the things Gabor Mate says is when you do experience trauma of any sort, you just really need to be seen in it. And that's part of the healing process. So in order to be seen, you need to own it and be with it and not ignore it. So it's painful, but the only way out is through. And so you need to allow for it, and not conform to what others need you to be.
Yeah, allow that space, that container, that boundary.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So those are our top tips for you to go from Holi-dazed to happy holidays, where you can choose the experience and the environment that you want to best express yourself in. Can't control other people. We know this, but you can choose and make a decision on your destiny and what that looks like and how you can start living it today. So I'm going to ask all of the brilliant presenters to share their information one more time with you. Al checked out because he had clients he had to get to. So you'll have to rewind to listen to Al's contact information. But Angie, give it to us one more time.
Yes, Angie at harmonyharbor.com. And the website is harmonyharbor.com. My phone number is 1-314-422-6520. And this was great, Don. I just want to praise you for I love the structure of it and all the points. They were right on.
People smarter than me came up with those points. I just Google them. Top stressors, psychology says. Okay. Preethi.
Yeah. So my website is welladorned.life, www.welladorned.life. And there's a contact space there. So you could just reach out there. And my phone number, you can reach me at 1-516-637-3203. And to echo Angie, this was amazing. I need this all for myself. So thank you for all these tips that were shared by the brilliance that is in this bubble with us. Thank you.
And I want to remind everybody, the reason why you don't have the life that you desire, you've been programmed, conditioned not to have it. You have been taught to solve problems instead of designing a life. And that created an identity with your focus, your feelings, your actions that is going to be designed around someone else's values instead of your brilliance. And I'm going to help you break through all of that so you can reveal who you really are. 1-636-699-7791. Tell me you want a breakthrough consult, or you can go to my website, dawnlandrum.com, DAWNLANDRUM.com. All right. So take what these presenters have offered you and go out and have the holidays that are going to help bring out your health, your wealth, and your happiness.